Come to order, please. Today's meeting of the Municipal Code Enforcement Board is called to order on Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. Welcome, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated, please. Agendas of today's meeting are on the wall at the entrance of chambers. Please remember to turn off your cell phones, please. The Municipal Code Enforcement Board consists of 7 members who are appointed by the City Council. We serve voluntarily. It is the board's intent to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Clearwater by providing this equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing certain codes within the city. The board considers new business items in 2 parts. First, the violation, and then affirmative relief. Formal rules of evidence do not apply. Each side is limited to 15 minutes. The board may grant additional time. All proceedings will be conducted in a calm, civil manner. Individuals who conduct themselves otherwise will be asked to leave. If necessary, they will be escorted from the chambers. Now I ask all who plan to speak, please rise and be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do. Our first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of last month's meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
The minutes need to be continued to next month.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We will make a motion to move the minutes approval till next month.
I'll make that motion to move the minutes to approval till next month.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Is there anyone here to speak to items that are not on the agenda today? No? All right. Our first order of new business is 4.2 on our agenda, continued from October 26, 2022, continued to May 24, 2023, case number 94-22. Fine respondents 601 Cleveland Street LLC at 613 Park Street in violation of code for unsafe building and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fines if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case?
This has been continued to the May meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Okay, case 4.3 on our agenda, case 17-23. Fine respondents Blastball LLC at 3032 State Road 590 in violation of code for fences and lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? Sir, come up, please.
You'll need to be sworn in, Nicole.
State
Do you swear affirm to tell the truth throughout your entire testimony?
I do.
Thank you.
All right.
State your name and address for the record, please.
You want a home address or this property?
Whichever you prefer.
All right, well, Brian.
A real one.
That's all right.
A real one.
Oh, there you go. All right. I was going to say 100 on North Osceola, but Brian Johns with an I. One address would be 2840 46th Avenue North, St. Petersburg, Florida, 33714.
Mr. Johns, you have the floor.
Thank you. I don't really need the floor. I don't disagree with the conclusions. We do need to do a few repairs to the fence that is sagging and a little bit of cleanup. I did have a gentleman go out there to repair it, and he didn't do it adequately enough, so I'm not in disagreement. I just came to, out of respect to our friend over there.
So you admit the violation?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Can I have a motion?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Johns, if you'll have a seat right there, I'll let the city come up and present their case.
Right here?
Yep, right there in the front row. And we'll call you back up.
Show our pictures and kind of get through a few
Yeah.
things. Hi there, so do we want to go ahead and see the whole presentation then?
Sure.
Yes? Okay, hi. Shelby Brown, City of Clearwater, Code Inspector. Nice to see you aboard today. We are here for a property at 3032 State Road 590. This is a large commercial property, and this is for case 17-23. So this property used to be a dry cleaners. It's kind of a vacant building overall right now. There's 2 violations there. The fences and the walls need some maintenance desperately, and those are covered by sections 3-808A1 through A5. Those are all the fence codes. And then there's also some lot clearing and debris and overgrowth there and landscape maintenance, and that's covered by sections 3-1503A, B1, B7, and then 3-1502H3 is our landscape maintenance code. These are just the dates of my correspondence and communication with Brian. So we've been kind of trying to work on things since about September. I think we're getting close to something moving a little farther forward since we've spoke about it, but you can see there we've had all kinds of acknowledgement. So this is just an aerial from property appraiser of the property. It's got a really big footprint, you can see. So down here towards the bottom, this is State Road 590. There's a building on it, and then it's got a lot of perimeter fencing and landscaping. This is a picture I took on the 15th a few days ago. You can just see the front of the property here. And this was a picture on November 14th, so the fencing was in really, really, really rough shape. It was falling down here and there. Boards were missing. It backs up to a bunch of residential properties, and it's really important that the fencing stay intact and maintained, and there was a lot of overgrown vegetation at the time. This was March 15th. This was the fix for the fence. Brian will be able to tell you he wasn't aware that this was how it was fixed, but this was the fix that was made all the way around with 2x4s. You can see some discarded ladders, some other accumulation of leaves, and just a few more pictures. This isn't a proper fix for a fence, right? It doesn't meet our code, and a big accumulation of maybe those leaves are holding the fence in place. Maybe they're serving a purpose, but they need to get cleaned up. And then just some more dead vegetation on the property that needs to be cleared once and for all. And this is the east side of the property and what it looks like there. This is the west side of the property. This is in the front, and just more of the same. Needs to be cleaned up. Fence needs to be shored up properly. Forever and ever, amen. And replace all these old boards, or just repair the whole fence. So compliance can be met to fix the fences and the walls, that the dilapidated fencing must be repaired properly. The fencing needs to be maintained vertically with no sagging or leaning. The rotten boards need to be replaced. The fence stringers need to be securely fastened to the posts. Support posts, footers solidly attached to the ground. Fence sections all securely fastened to the support posts and stringers. It's a mouthful. The fencing can also be replaced to achieve compliance, which is subject to any applicable reviews and building permits. And then compliance can be met for the lot clearing nuisance. Just cut down all the overgrown vegetation, clear all the accumulated dead vegetation, weeds, leaves, debris, discarded materials, etc. from the entire property, and that includes the full perimeter, not just the stuff that we see from the street. It does back up to a neighborhood. And keep all the sidewalks clear and unobstructed from overgrown landscaping, and then maintain all the landscaping in a healthy and live condition. So my recommendations for both of these issues is that they come into compliance on or before April 22nd, which is a month out, or a fine of $150 per day per issue, potentially $300 a day for each day it continues to exist. But I think we've got some agreement now, and we're going to move forward, so that probably won't be necessary. But that's our recommendation.
Do you have any, board, do you have any questions for our inspector?
Can I just ask you one question? Where is this located?
It's on State Road 590. It's near the Humane Society.
Oh, okay, that's the one,
West of the Rowan Booth.
I used to go there.
Used to be a dry cleaner.
Yeah, I used to go there.
Yes.
Okay, I know where it is.
You need to come up.
Yeah, Mr. John, step back to the microphone.
I do have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Out of the violations, we saw pictures from November. What's been done since that time up to
The
now?
last pictures from March 15th, those were showing that it still needs to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Quick question. Is it possible to exclude the east side, given the massive amount of construction that is going on between the Humane Society and my property? There is a shared property line in which a lot of the overgrowth is actually theirs. That affects my property on the east side. So I just don't want to have a misunderstanding of who owns what relating to the east side of the property, given that it's kind of a mess over there. And they've been using my parking lot and tractor trailers and driving over the curb cut and my grass. The west side, no worries. I know the fence needs to be taken care of overgrowth, but
I think that's a good question, but I don't think that we can technically answer that for
No,
you.
all right, well, I'm just, okay.
Yeah, it's a
So-
great, but it's a great question.
Ms. Brown, come.
If it would work, I'd be glad to meet you out there and just walk it. I mean,
All
the
right.
property lines are pretty clearly delineated, so if everything just gets knocked down at least once, get it into compliance,
All right.
and then,
Okay.
we can work with the Humane Society if need be, but it's just, I
Oh,
think
that's
it's
fine.
clearly on your sides, and there's no fencing that you have to worry about right now on that side, because I think that's not what's,
Well, they've hit most of it. and
Okay.
they've-
all right, does that help clarify then? If
Yeah.
you'd like, we can meet out there.
Oh, that's fine, I just wanted to make sure the east side.
And is the April 22nd date okay with you? I mean, can you do it by then?
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. For me, it was more so just the shared property line with the Humane Society and everything they have going on over there. I didn't want to, I really can't clean up their side.
Right.
Well, I just
We can
want-
meet out there.
I only have one complaint, is that now that you run that dry cleaner out, I have to drive a long way to go
I'm
to a
sorry
dry
to hear
cleaner.
that, they went up the street,
I
they're
know,
about a
I know.
mile up
Just
on
kidding.
the right, yeah, no, so it's, sorry.
All right.
No problem.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I make a comment? I think the city and the gentleman there are working together. Why don't we just, I'm sorry, you did what?
Go ahead.
No, I just think, let's make a motion and move on.
The only question I had, if I may, is, I know typically when you're dealing with properties and surveys, we're used to looking at a survey to see where the property line's delineated, and I think you answered part of that. And if there's spillage over onto the other side, I mean, what he's responsible for, I would think, would be his property, and if there's something that's on the other property,
Yeah.
it's not his to worry about. So, I mean, if the line's delineated, then that could help as well.
All right.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before April 22nd, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each date each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to forego, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next case is 4.4 on our agenda, case number 18-23. Find respondents Kellen Driscoll at 1460 Pierce Street in violation of code for parking services and parking surfaces, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak about that case? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Kellen Driscoll, 1460 Pierce Street, Clearwater, Florida, 33755.
Mr. Driscoll, you have the floor.
Yeah, so it was just brought to my attention that the tenant that lives there, its family was parking on the front lawn, and it wasn't allowed, apparently. So I hired a contractor to see if they could put in a driveway in the front yard, some sort of surface so that they could park on. And they submitted a permit and like 3 different variations of what we wanted to try and do in the front yard, just to make it look better and have a place to park in the front. Turns out that's not going to be doable, apparently, so now we are looking at parking in the rear, and they gave me a permit number that they have in, and they said they're working with their architect for setbacks in the rear, some sort of kind of parking pad in the rear of the property. So that's where we're at currently. We put up just like some posts and just so the tenant wouldn't park in the front yard temporarily while we create the parking surface in the rear. So that's it.
So, Mr. Driscoll, do you admit or deny the violation?
I mean, I didn't see it physically, so I can't say on that. It's a rental, so
Okay.
I'm not there.
Well, if you have pictures of you blocking it off, then you know that it's probably.
Well, I'm
They've
just
been
trying
doing it.
to comply,
so.
you know.
Can I have a motion, please?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as
Chair,
referred.
I'd ask that you hear the case from the inspector before you make a decision, since he did not admit.
Oh, okay. All right, Mr. Driscoll, if you'll have a seat in the front row right there. Mr. Inspector Casman, come on up, you got the floor, sir.
Good afternoon, Board. Daniel Casman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for case number 18-23 at 1460 Pierce Street. There's just one violation there for Code Section 3-1407A7 for unpaved parking prohibited. These are just the dates. Notices have been sent out with compliance, the affidavit posting, and for the hearing. This is 1460 Pierce Street. Might look familiar. I believe you guys remember I brought forth 1476 Pierce Street a few months back about the same issue. There was no parking surface at the property, and they were just parking in the lawn. I believe that gentleman, he kept putting in plans again to the city, and they kept getting rejected. There's a strange zoning variance there,
Yes.
what you are allowed to put in and what you're not allowed to put in.
Yeah, I remember.
We have been going back and forth. I have been in contact with Mr. Driscoll. It's just the plans they kept submitting were just not going to be allowed, and they had to speak more and get more clarification about what they're happening. But in the meantime, I simply suggested, if you don't have a parking surface right now, you just can't park there. You have to utilize street parking at the location.
There is street parking there, yes.
Yes.
Is that the one, the previous one, where it looked like, one, that there had been a surface, but it eroded, and then two, the guy was getting the nasty notes from somebody? Is that the same one?
No, that was a different gentleman. That was Stephen Koenig, I believe his name was.
Yeah, he Richard got a
He
very,
did get a driveway. He put in a driveway, and it looks great.
Okay.
So, but with this property, there's been a bit of back and forth with the permitting, and I just can't have the permit sit in limbo forever while people are still parking on the front lawn. So this was in December. At this time, the permit had already been in, but there were comments about the impervious surface ratio and what they were trying to create. This is maybe a better look at the plans that they were trying to create. It was a parking pad up front, but due to this was notes from Mark Perry that they were not going to be able to build what they wanted to build like that. It had to be in a different style. And I just have been explaining that they have to do the back and forth with the building division and ask what are you going to be allowed to do and what you're going to be able to implement. And once you get an okay, then we can get a surface in there. So this was back in February. The tenants, again, are still always parking up front. This was a notice for today's hearing. And that the day that the tenant was still parking up front. And yes, Mr. Driscoll did put up some temporary posts for people to stop parking there, but on the side, they were still parking in the dirt and rocks in the backyard. So we're just asking that there's some sort of surface be put here. So compliance be met for the unpaved parking just by creating a parking surface for vehicles to park on or by utilizing the street parking for the vehicles.
Can I ask you a question about the back and forth with the city? Are you saying he's trying to get a permit in the city, you've got strange zoning things and all that? It sounds like there's problems with the city trying to figure out what to do, and the gentleman is trying to do something. So if you can figure that one out, let me know.
Well, the previous gentleman, Mr. Koenig, who owned 1476 Pierce Street, was running into the same trouble. He had to speak back and forth with the city until they finally, I believe, gave him a variance to put in the driveway that he has now at the location. But that was something beyond my pay grade as far as the details of what you are or not allowed to build.
So he's got to get a variance from the city.
He negotiated something to allow him to put that driveway in, and I don't know what it was exactly. But in this case, it's a similar situation. There's no parking surface, and a lot of ones that have been proposed have been rejected. We're just asking that you have to find out what the city wants, and once you...
That irritates me because it sounds like the city is, probably not the right word to use, jerking them around a little bit and get this thing done. So it's
There's certain
frustrating.
rules.
I understand there's rules and regulations,
Yeah.
but he's got to keep going back and forth, and it takes time and all that. I'm not complaining to you, I'm just thinking out loud, I guess. Sorry.
It's all right.
Thinking in terms of solution, if Mr. Koenig was able to accomplish that, and unless because of the lot size or the ISR, impervious surface ratio or whatever comes into play on that, it might be a good piece of information for Mr. Driscoll to talk with the people that are working on his to see if that's a potential route and play that against the amount of time he's got in terms of what he's allowed, because I know those aren't quick.
Well, like in my recommendations, In the meantime, if we don't have a surface there, I'm just asking that we park in the street until we get something there to park on. There's an easy fix, and it's just parking in the street for right now until you get something put in. And Mr. Koenig did the same thing, and he eventually got a real driveway put in, so now all his tenants can park there.
Daniel, what would be the minimum surface he could put in there to park?
I don't know exactly, and that was only one part of the problem. The other part of the problem was, in that specific district, there are certain rules when it comes to putting in a driveway or parking surface that are not similar to every other residential district in the city. It specifically pertains to downtown.
They're all different, okay.
Does the board have any other questions?
Nope.
All right. May I have a motion?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Staff, Mr. Kasman, what's your recommendations?
My recommendation for this is I'm requesting compliance on or before April 22nd, 2023, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day the violations continue to exist. That's all.
But does that mean it has to be completed, meaning he still has to go back and forth with the department, how many times?
Like I said in my compliance slide, as long as you cease parking on
Oh,
the
okay.
property as of right now, you're in compliance tomorrow, as long as you stop that. Yeah. Completing the driveway or pad or whatever they're planning on putting in is just between them and the departments.
Just can't park on it till something's decided.
Yeah. That's all.
Mr. Driscoll, do you have any questions or recommendations that you would like to?
No.
All right, may I have a motion?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before April 22nd, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Kasman. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
Mr. Drip, good luck with your permit too. I hope you get it. That's why I'm wishing you good luck.
Next is 4.6 on our agenda, case number 2023. Find respondent Boulevard Clearwater Associates LLC at 2266 Gulf to Bay Boulevard in violation of code for fences and issue an order with a compliance deadline and fine if compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? May I have a motion?
I move to find a respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Kasman, would you like to
You
present?
want to see the whole thing or just go to recommendations?
Board, do you need to see?
Oh, we'll go through the whole thing.
Okay.
What's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is Daniel Kasman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater, for case number 20-23 for 2266 Gulf to Bay Boulevard. There's one violation here for code section 3-808A1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for fence maintenance violations. These are the dates the notices were sent out with compliance. I did receive the green card back and have been in contact with the district representative for this property and also the property manager. It's just, we were expecting something to be done a little bit earlier than now. So this is Mobile Home Park, 2266 Gulf to Bay. It's got this fence between it and the adjoining property on the east side that has been in disrepair. It's falling over. Now this is just a look at the long fence. It's falling over. There's gaps in the fence. There's missing boards. There's missing slats. This is what it looked like back in 2007. I don't know if it went up that year. I can't find any evidence of any fence permit for either property. But it looks like someone took it upon themselves to paint the fence on this side of the property, and all the posts for the fence are on this side of the property. At first, there was a little bit of resistance from the owners saying that it wasn't their fence, but I can't imagine that anyone else would take the care to repaint the fence if they didn't believe it belonged to them. So, went back in January, and it was still the same issue. It was falling over. There were gaps in the fence. I went back just recently, and I guess there'd been a turnover in property management. The previous manager was not addressing the issues, and as of today, they have an unsigned contract with a fence repair person to take care of it, and hopefully they're going to replace it all with vinyl fencing sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Where is that at exactly?
22, it's at the corner, it's not too far from the corner of Belcher and Gulf to Bay. It's the mobile home park. I think it's either a CVS or a Walgreens in the corner. You just go a little bit further down. I might be thinking a little further down. I actually took on this case from another inspector's zone. This isn't exactly my area. It hasn't been, they were out that one day when I took it on. But it's about 2 more blocks away from the corner of Belcher and Gulf to Bay,
In which direction?
heading east towards Tampa.
It's on the right side.
Okay.
If you're heading towards Tampa, it's on the left side.
Oh, okay.
There's another different mobile home park. It's on the same, on the other side.
Okay.
Well, we can give them incentive to fix it.
Say again?
I said we can give them incentive to fix it.
Yeah.
Are we sure that, that this fence belongs to that mobile home park?
Yeah, they're taking ownership of it now.
So are they gonna put the front facing the right side when
If
they
it's
do?
a vinyl white fence, I don't
Well,
think
it
there's a
don't matter,
wrong side of that
but-
fence.
Alongside, yeah.
Yeah, but,
If I'm not mistaken, the way that fence is constructed, it's like boards each side, so there's not necessarily
Right on.
a side like there is on a
It's
traditional.
posts and the in-betweens are plastic, they're identical on either side when you make it a vinyl fence. But with this one, posts are on the side of the mobile home park, and they've been taking care of it, it looks like, for several years, and all the maintenance staff agree. It's just that the ruling out of the managers caused them to say, well, it's not our fence, we don't want to deal with it.
so, Mr. Cashman, are you requesting a declaration of violation?
No, they're still in violation. I'd like to give them a date to come to compliance.
Okay.
So for compliance to be met for the fence maintenance, by repairing the sections of fence that are damaged and falling over, or by removing the fence. And I'm requesting compliance on or before April 22nd, 2023, or a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day violations continue to exist.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Can I have a motion?
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before April 22nd, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $150 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If fines and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next case is 4.7 on our agenda, case 21-23, find respondents SRMA Pact I-B LLC at 18 South Cirrus Avenue in violation of code for landscaping maintenance, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and fine if the compliance is not met. Is there anyone here to speak on that case? No? Mr. Inspector, you have the floor.
All righty. Good afternoon, Board. Give me 1 second.
Or wait, I should,
Go.
just do it after he's done. Okay, sorry.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is John Stevens. I'm Code Compliance Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is going to be in reference to case number 21-23 regarding 18 South Cirrus Avenue here in the City of Clearwater. There are 2 violations here for code section of 3-1502H3, which is landscape maintenance, and 3-1502K5, which regards sidewalks on private property and how they're maintained. These are the dates of my notice of violation, the compliance date, and then when I received back the certified mail. And then we had to actually go out and physically post the property because they did not receive the certified mail back on the notice of today's hearing. And that's the proof of that notice. This is the picture of the property on the first date of violation. This actually came in from a citizen complaint, complaining that the property owner was just letting the property go. And you can look and see there the bushes are quite overgrown. And it's kind of hard to see, but the grass at the very front of the property where it goes down into the stormwater runoff drain is overgrown and coming out into the street that way. And then the sidewalk to the left of the bush there is overgrown to the point that you can't hardly see the sidewalk. just some more pictures of that day of the overgrown bushes. Get it growing over into the stormwater drain. This is actually a picture of the day after the compliance date, and you can see there not much has changed. None of the bushes have been trimmed, still overgrown. You still have grass growing across. It's actually dying now, but growing across the sidewalk, and then the grass is still coming out into the stormwater drain. That's a picture from that day as well. And this was actually this morning. And as you can see, that one bush has actually gotten quite a bit larger compared to the initial date of violation. And I guess someone is coming by and cutting the grass because the grass doesn't seem to really be getting high, and it seems like it's being maintained, but they're not cutting anything else there. They haven't trimmed anything on the sidewalk. I have not had any contact from whoever the owner is. I believe it's going to be a rental based on what the name of the ownership is, but they haven't bothered to reach out and contact me reference the notice.
Board, do you have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
It doesn't look like there's much grass there to start with, and we've been so dry. It looks like it's more weed than grass, and that sidewalk is unreal. But my question is this, John, is this resident responsible for the grass going down into the storm drain?
They're responsible to make sure they are cutting it up there to the right of way. So it can't go down into the street, it can't go over the curb that way, they have to maintain that.
Okay.
And that's just the last picture from today. So compliance can be met for the landscape maintenance in the sidewalks on private property by clearing any overgrowth from the bushes, removing the overgrowth grass from the city stormwater drain, and then the right-of-way, and dead grass across the residential sidewalk. And then my recommendation for the case for the two violations would be request compliance on or before April 22nd of this year for the violation of landscape maintenance and sidewalks on private property, or a $150 fine per day for each of the violations as long as they exist.
For each one, so $300 a day.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I get a first motion on the violation?
I move to find the respondent in violation of the code as referred to in the affidavit in this case.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can I have a declaration?
Oh, second.
Oh, a second motion, I mean?
Second motion.
Yeah, my bad.
I move to enter an order requiring the respondent to correct the violations on or before April 22nd, 2023. If the respondent does not comply by that date, the board may order a fine of $100 per day per violation for each day each violation continues to exist. If the fines and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
It was $150 a day.
$150. That's been generous.
Can I have a second motion?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next case is withdrawn. Next one is continued. And I believe that is all for new business?
No.
No?
4.9?
Oh, it says continued to April
yeah,
26th.
sorry.
Yeah, it's going to continue the next one.
That's my bad.
You're right, Mr. Chairman, unfinished business.
And then, where's the Osceola at?
Nuisance abatement lien filing, but I think you have to accept
Oh,
the
these are
affidavits of
abatements?
compliance first.
All right. We have one unfinished business, though. It's 5.1 on our agenda. Accept the affidavits of compliance as listed. 5.1.1, case 75-22, affidavit of compliance, Clearwater Homes LLC, 1476 Pierce Street, residential grass parking.
You can do them together. You can lump them together.
Okay. And 5.1.2, case number 01-23, affidavit of compliance for FTMC LLC, 1621 Gulf to Bay Boulevard, exterior storage. Can I have a motion?
I move to accept the affidavits of compliance as listed.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now to our nuisance abatement lien filings. This is 7.1 on our agenda, case number 3223, Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents RSRCA-CD 2201 LLC at 708 North Osceola Avenue for lot clearing and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if the compliance is not met. Mr. Dixon?
Good afternoon, Board. Inspector Dixon, City of Clearwater Code Compliance. This is case 32-23 for 708 North Osceola Avenue. There's one violation on the property that's violating two section codes, 1503B7 and 3-1503B5A for lot clearing. Notice of violation went out early February with compliance date the end of February. This property is next to the Seminole Boat Docks. There used to be 7 buildings on this parcel. They were all taken down, and there's a little bit of delay in the new construction, but the property's fallen into being overgrown, full of debris. These are pictures from February. These are pictures from a few days ago on the 14th. Everything's still basically the same, except that there's a homeless camp down at the, down where it dips down where you can't see. And these are from this morning. It's basically the same condition. So compliance can be met for the lot clearing by clearing all overgrowth from the property, and compliance can be met for the accumulation of trash and debris by removing all discarded items and trash from the property. And my recommendation for this case is I'm requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order. I am in contact with the owner. He says that it should be cleaned up by next week, but just in case.
Very good.
Board, do we have any questions?
No.
May I have a motion?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance, and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Sorry. Ayes have it. All right, 7.2 on our agenda, case number 3323.
He has them all. He has them all.
Oh. Yeah, he sure does. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents, Schlau Properties Company at 1425 Sunset Point Road for inoperative vehicle and lot clearing, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon.
This is case 33-23 for 1425 Sunset Point Road. There are 2 violations at this property, lot clearing and an inoperable vehicle. Notice was sent out towards the end of February with a compliance date earlier this month. This vehicle may or may not have came from a eviction across the street, but nonetheless it's an ABV with an expired tag. The building is a vacant storefront, and there's some couches have been dumped back there, and maybe some transient use. There's a lot of dead vegetation around the property. This is a few days ago on the 14th. Basically the same. Maybe a little bit of trash has been picked up. And this is this morning. The vehicle's still there. Tags from 13.
Big car.
And the property has a lot of dead vegetation that needs cleaned up, the couches, any other loose trash. Compliance can be met for the inoperable vehicle by removing inoperable vehicles from the property. Vehicles must be roadworthy and display a current registration if they're going to remain. And compliance can be met for lot clearing by removing all trash, debris, indoor furniture from the property and clearing all overgrown vegetation.
Have you been in contact with the owners?
Not this property.
Not at all.
Nobody.
Or do you have any questions?
And I'm requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
Okay, go ahead with your recommendation.
Yep.
That's it.
Okay. Can I have a motion, please?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid, 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, next case is 7.3 on our agenda. Case number 34-22, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Drew Street Professional Park LLC at 215 Fern Avenue for lot clearing, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if the compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon.
I'm going to present the next 6 cases together. It's one large vacant lot that's split up into 6 separate parcels. So,
Yes, the board, like he said, he's gonna present them all at once, but I will need an individual motion for
Okay.
each of the cases.
All right.
all right, this is for cases 34 through 39-23, 207 through 215 Fern Avenue, and 806 and 808 Drew Street. There's one violation here for lot clearing. They're in violation of 3-1503B7 for lot clearing, 3-1503B8 for unmaintained right-of-way, and 3-1503B5A for accumulation of trash. The property was posted mid-February with a compliance towards the end. These lots are located kind of on the corner of Drew and Myrtle, back off the street. There's a little street, Fern Avenue there, that services that building that's up on Myrtle there. And it's split up into 6 separate parcels. It's kind of hard to tell if it's overgrown because the neighboring property uses it to park sometimes, so a lot of the grass up near Fern Avenue is smashed down from vehicles, but the back's overgrown. There's a lot of dead vegetation throughout the property. These are just different shots and different angles throughout the property. There's a lot of trees that have died and fell. They're just laying about. This is a picture from Drew Street. And then back in these bushes and these saplings, there's a couple of homeless camps that are back in there. And they'll all need to be cleared out. Now, they did come through and they cut the grass and they cut up some of the logs, but they left them piled on the property, I think assuming solid waste would pick them up, but since there's no services, there's no trash service either. And then this is today, the same piles exist. They're smaller. I think the neighbors have been burning them in the fireplaces. At least that's what one of them told me, so.
It's been
The
cold.
homeless camp's still there, and all their trash and debris is still there.
And this pictures of all 6 properties? Or
Yeah,
all 6
yeah,
parcels?
from Drew to Jones
Okay.
along Fern Avenue.
I know those properties, and they've been that way a long time.
I used to have contact with their representative, but they're no longer accepting my phone calls or emails, and
Wonder why.
I don't know.
Okay. We're going to do these separately, even though he presented them all at once.
Would you like my,
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
reminding them.
compliance can be met for lot clearing and right-of-way maintenance by clearing all overgrowth on the property, and compliance can be met for accumulation of trash and debris by removing all discarded items, trash, and piles of vegetation from the property. And the city would like to request compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right. Can I get a motion on case 34-23?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry into the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If the costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion on case 35-23?
Somebody else want to read it?
That's a lot to read.
Plug another quarter into it.
Can we just say ditto?
No.
This will be for
I
case
move
30.
to order, enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. The cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed. The city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion for,
Case 36
is that,
36-23, yeah.
is that 36? Okay, 36-23.
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with the reasonable costs which would become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Have a second?
I'll second that. Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion for case 37-23?
I'll do one. I move to enter an order finding a respondent in violation of code and requiring a respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable costs which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Can I get a motion for case 38-23?
I'm on a roll. I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order, and if the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Can I have a motion on case 39-23?
I'll take one. I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable cost which would become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right. This is case 7.9 on our agenda, case 40 dash.
Okay, let's,
You want to skip that
Can I
one?
move that we not let him make any presentations anymore?
We're going to move forward to agenda number 7.10, case 41-23. Accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Nicholas J. Stewart at 1915 Macomber Avenue for lot clearing, and issue an order with a compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if compliance is not met. Inspector Dixon.
This is for case 41-23 for 1915 Macomber Avenue. There's one violation for lot clearing. They're in violation of 3-1503B7 and B5A for lot clearing and accumulation of trash and debris. The property was posted towards the end of February with a compliance date beginning of March. Unfortunately, this homeowner has passed away a year or two ago. There was a family member that was maintaining it, but they broke contact with me. And there's some debris around, and the backyard is pretty tall at the time of posting. Somebody came by and cleared it, but they didn't pick up any of the garbage. And so this morning, the debris is still on the property. There's some dead vegetation, and property's in pretty rough shape.
Do you think anyone's living there?
No, he passed away.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the houses around it look really nice. Are they pretty good neighborhood there?
So-so.
So, okay,
It's all Sunset Point
okay,
before
okay.
Betty.
Okay. Curious.
But the compliance can be met for the lot clearing by clearing all overgrowth on the property, and compliance can be met for the accumulation of trash and debris by removing all discarded items, trash, outdoor furniture, and dead vegetation from the property, and requesting compliance 5 days after the board renders its order.
All right, can I
And you sure no one's living in there?
No, I've spoken to the deceased dad, and I don't know who's maintaining it, but that posting I had, I've written a Sharpie note on there to please call me so we can do something.
It looks like it's just been abandoned.
Yeah, it's in pretty rough shape. You'll see it again, probably, in a month or two.
Yeah, let's try it.
Mr. Kinney, did you have a question?
I think he answered it.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
I move to enter an order finding the respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry onto the property to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with a reasonable cost, which will become a lien on the property. If cost, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now to
Thank you.
Thank you. And now to 7.9 on our agenda, case 40-23, accept the nuisance abatement lien for respondents Totten, Maryland Trust, Totten, Maryland K. Trey at 1279 Druid Road for inoperative vehicle and lot clearing, and issue an order with the compliance deadline and authorize the city to mitigate the violation if the compliance is not met. Inspector Caspin?
Hello, Daniel Casman, Code Enforcement Inspector for the City of Clearwater. This is for 1279 Druid Road. It's a nuisance abatement, case number 40-23. So there were 2 violations here for Code Section 3-1503 B5A and B7 for accumulation placements of nuisances and lot clearing. Code Section 3-1503 B6 for an operative vehicle. These are the date. Notice was posted to the property with the affidavit posting, and the compliance date was of this month. I don't know if you guys remember, whoever was here last month, I believe I asked for liens to be stopped at this property for an original inoperative vehicle violation, so we could look to abate instead. But this was back in February 21st. These, just take note of the vehicles that are there, right there. A green van and a gray van, and in the back over there, there's a shopping cart, there's a hot tub, some sheets of fiberglass, and a bunch of other vehicles lined up in the back. This was back in March, earlier this month. I went up front. There's 2 different vehicles up front. There's my posting for both the inoperative vehicle and the lot clearing violation. I went back on the 14th, and there were different vehicles up front. I got photos in the backyard, and there were vehicles removed, but there's still a whole pile of stuff sitting out there. Different vehicles being worked on than they were there before. I went back on the 20th, and now there's even different vehicles, and there's a bunch of fence material just sitting in the yard, more just materials, tires, same items as before. Some of the vehicles look like they've been changed out, but business as usual. Just showing that that vehicle doesn't have a license plate on it either. Requesting compliance can be met for the lot clearing by removing all debris, boxes, bins, shopping carts, and other miscellaneous items from the grounds of the property. And compliance can be met for the inoperative vehicle by removing all dismantled and unregistered vehicles from the grounds of the property. I'm just requesting compliance on before 5 days from the date the board renders its order.
Did you get a chance to start towing any of them out?
That won't be able to be possible until after this board order is signed and given to us.
After this
Yeah.
nuisance abatement?
This is
Because we
what
stopped the fines the last time, so you
For
can bring
that
it
one
back.
particular matter, there's still other 4 fines that are running on the property.
Okay.
I've been in contact with the owner. I've been in contact with the owner's daughter-in-law about them cleaning up the property, telling them, we're coming by and we're going to grab whatever's there and isn't, proper. So you got time, but it's coming, so.
It looks like they're doing some sort of like Maint or garage, like fix-it shop
Yeah.
there.
The son of the owner is running a vehicle repair shop there. He's been running it since April 2021, when this first came to the code board.
We've seen this one before.
Whoever was on the board at that time, 2 years ago, probably saw it.
I remember it.
Meeting.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a bunch of complaints by the neighbors on this one? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but nothing, it's
It's the same business. He's running that repair business, yeah.
I'd be happy to make a motion on this.
I have a question.
Oh, excuse
I
me.
mean, has anybody addressed the running of the business there? Is that legal, and is that part of our concern?
It wouldn't be legal, that's for sure.
it's currently running a fine of $150 a day, along with 3 other violations for, canvas carport, grass parking, and box truck. There were commercial vehicles come and go at the location, and that was from previous inspector Yusuf Touré.
You've been in contact with the owner?
I have spoken with the owner. She's elderly, somewhat infirm. It's her son running everything on the property. There's multiple people living there. There's many calls of service for issues due to drugs and angry customers for the vehicle repair business.
You think?
No one that
Questions?
Okay.
Questions?
All right. Can I have a motion?
Yes, I'll move to enter an order finding a respondent in violation of code and requiring the respondent to correct the violations within 5 days of the board's written order. If the respondent does not comply within the time specified, the city may take all reasonable actions, including entry into the property, to abate and maintain the nuisance and charge the respondent with reasonable costs, which will become a lien on the property. If costs, fines, and fees remain unpaid 3 months after such lien is filed, the city is authorized to foreclose, collect, or settle such lien.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I suspect the police will be involved in this one.
All right.
Regarding if there's suspected drug activity, have appropriate measures been taken to notify any other agencies or law enforcement people about it?
When we go for abatements of this nature, we always have police presence at the property.
Okay, good.
So when you come with the police, you see them scattering out the,
Hopefully, it'll be without incident. We can just keep it cleaned up, and maybe they'll stop doing it.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Casman. If there's nothing else in front of this board today, I'm going to adjourn. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, it was quick.
Good.